The following content is intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. What you're about to hear is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony from the trial of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. In a courtroom so silent you could hear a pin drop, that silence was shattered by the voice of a woman recounting the darkest chapters of her past, testimony that shook even the most seasoned reporters. This is the chilling story of Cassie Ventura, told under oath. Her words weren't just disturbing, they were horrifying. She described, step by step, a system of ritualistic abuse behind the doors of Diddy's so-called dark room. We're talking about baby oil, forced acts during her menstrual cycle, and disturbing details involving manipulation and control. This wasn't wild behavior. This was organized torment. As she gave her testimony, Diddy sat across from her, visibly shaken, hands trembling. Eventually, he broke down. He screamed. Today, we're breaking down what Cassie revealed in court, how the courtroom reacted, and why this moment might be the final nail in the coffin for one of hip-hop's most powerful and controversial figures. Cassie Ventura didn't just walk into that courtroom as a witness. She walked in as the woman who lit the match, the one whose lawsuit opened Pandora's box. 8 months pregnant, wearing a gray maternity dress, she walked slowly to the stand. Her eyes were focused straight ahead. She looked less like a pop star and more like a survivor of war. The prosecution began softly, asking how she met Diddy, how she got signed, how the relationship evolved. But that gentle tone didn't last. What followed was one of the most disturbing testimonies the music industry has ever witnessed. Cassie described what she called a ritual, not random, not impulsive. She said Diddy ran his freak-offs like a movie director. Everything was choreographed, lights dimmed just right, music pre-selected, scented oils laid out, towels positioned with precision. He was always producing, she said. Even in the worst moments, he needed control over every second. She told the court how Diddy would invite male escorts into their private space, not for himself, but for her to engage with, while he watched. She said it wasn't always consensual. What was worse, she said, was how structured it all was. Cassie was allegedly forced to narrate everything she was doing, seeing, and feeling, like a graphic audiobook. He wanted every detail, she testified. The courtroom was stunned. A juror wiped away tears. Phones remained confiscated. Cassie continued. She said she was often under the influence, substances allegedly provided by Diddy himself. Alcohol, weed, pills, anything to dull her senses. But, she said, I remembered everything. I knew it was wrong, she said, but I didn't know how to say no to someone who held my entire life in his hands. When asked what happened if she refused, she replied, he told me I was boring. He said, if you don't do it, someone else will. That quote echoed through the room and through Diddy's own family members in attendance. It was the first time they heard this kind of abuse described so intimately. But it got even darker. Cassie clenched her hands in her lap as she described Diddy's obsession with sheen. Specifically, how skin looked when glistening under dim light. The prosecution backed this up. Evidence from the federal raid of Diddy's property revealed over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, enough to fill a pharmacy aisle. Cassie said he would stop every few minutes to reapply the oil, not just to her, but to the male escorts too. He wanted us to look like we were wrapped in cellophane, she said. Every inch of our skin had to shine. He would scream if we looked dry. The courtroom laughed nervously at first, until she revealed the true purpose of all that oil. It wasn't just visual, she said. It was to dehumanize. When you're covered in oil, you're not a person anymore. You're an object. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. She told the court how she would sometimes slip off the sheets, unable to get traction. Sometimes she would fall. Diddy would laugh. Other times, he would berate her. He called her names, said she was ruining the performance. According to her, it was never about sex. It was about power, control, and complete submission. He didn't just want a partner. He wanted ownership. Cassie began her harrowing testimony by revealing how tightly orchestrated everything was. If she deviated from a script, Diddy would shut everything down and start over. She spoke of hidden cameras. Sometimes I'd see little red lights blinking, she said. I don't know where that footage went, but I know he kept everything. Prosecutors haven't confirmed if any of that footage was recovered, but their expressions hinted that something was in progress. Then, Cassie's account turned even darker. She alleged that Diddy's staff weren't just passive bystanders. They were active participants. Assistants would walk in mid-session, not to stop what was happening, but to reapply oil, bring towels, or hand over recording gear. No one ever said anything, she recalled. They acted like it was normal. Diddy sat shaking, eyes fixed on his lap. Even the judge looked rattled. But Cassie wasn't finished. By the time she reached Step 3 and Step 4, the courtroom was completely still. This part, I still try to forget, she said, adjusting her mic. Step 3. Oral servitude. Cassie admitted she rushed through it, not out of defiance, but to end it as fast as possible. I wasn't there because I wanted to be, she said. I thought if I didn't do it, he'd just find someone else. Visibly trembling, she explained how Diddy would direct the sessions like a film director. Slower, more eye contact. Talk to him, she recalled him saying. It was like I was acting in a grotesque porno, he wrote in his mind. Step 4. Intercourse. Sometimes Diddy watched. Other times he joined in, depending on whether he trusted the male escort. If he trusted the guy, he'd participate, she said. If not, he'd just sit there, playing God. What shook the courtroom wasn't just the acts themselves, it was what happened afterward. Cassie testified that Diddy demanded she take the escort's semen and rub it on his chest. He said it made him feel powerful, she whispered through tears. A reporter audibly gasped. A juror looked visibly ill. The judge called a 5-minute recess. Diddy sat stone-faced, foot twitching uncontrollably. When court reconvened, Cassie revealed something even more disturbing. She said these rituals happened even during her period. No breaks, no exceptions. When things got messy, bloody, he'd have staff bring extra linens, she said. I wasn't a person to him, just something he could use. She recalled a night when she was urinated on by a male escort while lying intoxicated and frozen on the floor. I couldn't even speak, she said. Diddy, she claimed, would only stop things if he got bored or annoyed, not out of compassion. Trapped by jealousy and fear, she stayed. He told me no one would believe me, and I believed him. The room was silent. Only the sound of the court reporter's keys echoed. When asked to describe what a dark room session looked like from beginning to end, Cassie laid it out in unsettling detail. These weren't random acts, she said. These were productions, planned like high-budget horror films. According to her, each room was prepped in advance. Lighting, furniture, oils. Everything arranged just the way he wanted. She once walked into a room at Diddy's Miami mansion and saw a man adjusting a spotlight above a velvet couch. He said, he wants the shadows to hit just right, she recalled. Cameras were always present, some obvious, others hidden. I stopped trying to count them, she said. He had every angle covered. Cassie also described being given mystery pills. He said they'd help me feel it better. She never knew what they were. Texts shown in court revealed her asking an assistant about the pills. The response, don't worry about it. Huff says take it. The substances left her disoriented for hours. Even more chilling? The props. Diddy had an entire room filled with devices, some requiring instructions. One leather-bound contraption was so complex, Diddy brought in a male sex worker to train Cassie on how to use it. Then came the rituals. On full moons and his birthdays, Diddy would host what he called spiritual freak-offs. He burned incense, played tribal music, and recited phrases he claimed were from ancient African texts. He said it was about power, Cassie said. He said I was helping him channel something bigger than himself. The courtroom was stunned. When asked if the dark room sessions ever turned violent, Cassie didn't hesitate. Yes, often. The violence wasn't random, it was calculated, she explained. If I broke character, cried, or hesitated, he'd snap. One night, when she refused to engage with an escort, Diddy dragged her into a room and slammed the door. He screamed at me for ruining his night, she said. Then pushed me so hard. I fell onto a metal frame. I still have the scar. A photo of the scar, taken by a doctor years later, was shown to the jury. Another night, when she asked for air, Diddy blocked the door. He slapped me, not in rage, calmly, like correcting a child, she said. She spent the rest of that night crying in the bathroom while he finished the session, without her. What made it worse? The staff saw it all. One assistant handed her a glass of water afterward and whispered, "You're okay. You're doing great." "I think that was the worst part," Cassie said. No one acted like it was wrong. Then, Cassie's legal team played a voicemail. Diddy's voice. "You know I love you. You make me do crazy things." That message, prosecutors said, showed a pattern, a cycle of emotional abuse layered over physical domination. "He broke me down," Cassie said, then tried to build me back up. Her most haunting line? "I didn't think of it as abuse at the time. I thought it was love."